Here's Jeff Parles and Alex White.
Welcome in. It's Sports by the Book. I'm Jeff Parles. The Celtics on the brink of title number 18, Alex.
And I'm Alex White. Yes, we have a lot to get to. Will it be a sweep, a gentleman's sweep, or will the Mavs pull off the impossible?
Just get it over with as quickly as humanly possible at this point. I just enough already. It's a march to the finish line at this point, more so than anything. Swoosh it, Sean. Let's just get into it. Starting five here on today. Did you not swoosh it?
He swooshed it when you said just get it over with. He thought you were talking to him, not to Dallas.
All right. Well, you know what? Premature swoosh is okay with me. Let's start with number one. The U.S. Open is underway there in Pinehurst. Alex, did you have any first round bets on Mathieu Pavon of France? No?
Unfortunately, I did not.
Nah, he's 4 under through 12. Auberg and Patrick Cantley. We haven't said Patrick Cantley's name much this year. Tied for second, both on the back nine. Russell Henley and Brooks Koepka. And Ryan McCormick, I'll bring this up because our guy Frank Nicotero, of course, as we know from a city called Pittsburgh, Neil Shipley, Pittsburgh native, tied for fifth as well so far.
He was looking for him to bet yesterday. He must have been in the field.
He was in the field, and he was he was in the field here behind
We're
us.
here.
But big, I think 4 digits. I think it was over 1,000. He's not going to win, but making the cut of the major would be a big accomplishment for Neil Shipley.
Hey, you never know. Don't count him out just yet. Number 2, Stanley Cup continues. Game 3, we are going north of the border. Oilers, $1.30 in this one. Total 5.5. Juice to the under a little bit, minus 115.
We'll have a full breakdown on that in a few moments because this is, of all the game threes, this is a very interesting one here tonight because I want to see what Edmonton has in the tank here tonight back at home. And Florida had a little bit of trouble getting up to Edmonton as well. Number 3, it's been a huge baseball betting day behind us here at the South Point. We'll give you those breakdowns in about 20 minutes from now. But the Yankees, boy, what a difference in class. The Yankees going for a 4-game sweep over Kansas City. They'll send Nestor Cortez to the mound at $1.55. Just very impressive stuff from the Bronx Bombers going to a team that has been one of the more delightful stories in baseball so far this year and just taking them to task so far this week.
Pinstripes definitely look like the real deal. Number 4, 3 NBA games. Caitlin Clark is in action at home. Atlanta Dream go to Indiana, but that's not really the big news. We have 2 games that are very meaningful in regards to the Commissioner Cup, and we will break all of those down.
Phoenix, Vegas, Dallas, Seattle. We'll have the full breakdowns. Alex has some plays as well that we can go through. How about a few days off for Indiana? That's a shocker in its own right for that. They haven't played since the weekend. And then number 5, see, this is what I was referring to, just get it over with here, Sean. The Mavs, they're in a 3-0 hole. And as we know, Alex White, no team has ever come back from a 3-0 hole in NBA history. As we know, right now, the number currently 156 times a team has gone in a 3-0 hole. 156 times they have not won the series. So Boston, with plenty of history on their side, trying to make it 157-0 for teams up 3-0 in best-of-7 NBA series tomorrow night. And we'll dive right into that right now. Just what we had last night. The Mavs led for a good chunk of the first half, had a 1-point lead at halftime. Boston with a big run in the third quarter, building a double-digit lead at one point in that third quarter. And then the Celtics did what they usually do. They just kind of took a little bit of time off. Dallas got it all the way back to 3. Luka fouls out with a little over 4 minutes to go. Luka got called for 4 fouls in 8 minutes. And that was that. As the Celtics have a 7-point win, another under again in this series. Been under Central through 3 games, 3-0 to the under. 106.99 your final. And there you go on the bottom of your screen. The Celtics are laying $54 to get this thing done in a sweep. 18-1 if you want Dallas to make history. Dallas is now making history. At best here, they would get a game 4, and we would have a game on Monday night. But this feels like this thing is done. It's just a matter of when at this point.
A lot of unders. I don't know what Game 4, that total is right now.
211 and a half.
211 and a
so
half.
the lowest by 2 points at least.
Which makes sense. And we've known that Boston had a really good defense all year long. We talked about Dallas, how much their defense has improved throughout the playoffs. And then, I think the most impressive thing, though, is the Celtics holding the Mavs under 100 in all 3 of these games. Kyrie did what we thought, though, and I'm mad at myself for not betting on his props, and especially his point prop. 35 points for him. He had a much better game being out of Boston, being back at home. Really hung in there. That 20-2 run that the Mavs went on in the fourth quarter, very impressive. I thought that they were going to get it done late in that game, but a lot happened. And I think the biggest thing for me, Jeff, is really, Luka's dominance in the first 3 quarters, and then he kind of dies down in the fourth quarter. And of course, we didn't see that in the previous series, but we're really seeing it now. And we saw it post when they were in the postseason before, years before. So I don't know if that's endurance. I don't know if it's his injuries, and we know he is battling a lot. And we've seen that in game 2 and 3, but that's been the biggest thing right there, that fourth quarter. And credit to the Celtics, though. They have done what they needed to do, and they go after Luka and Kyrie, their weakest defenders, and they deserve to be here and done a great job with these 3 wins.
Let's go to some audio real quick here. Last night after the game, Brian Windhorst was on with SVP last night, and let's just say Windy did not hold back on especially the last few minutes of the game, and really this whole series at large, especially on the defensive side of the ball from Luka Doncic.
His defensive performance is unacceptable. He is a hole on the court. The Celtics are attacking him. They are ahead in this series because they have attacked him defensively. And you've got a situation here where Luka is complaining about the officiating. They have begged him. They have talked with him. They have pleaded with him. He is costing his team because of how he treats the officials. He's a brilliant player. He does so many things well. They are here because of how he did. His performance in this game is unacceptable, and the reason why the Mavericks are not going to win. He's got to get over this. And the fact that he came out after the game and blamed the officials showed me he's nowhere close yet.
There's more to it as well, but that's the grand crux of it. And I will ask you this, Alex, and I was having a conversation this morning when I was half asleep still with a friend of mine, but it's more that I think we undersold, and you didn't do this in the last series, we've undersold how hurt Luka is. Because there was by the end of the regular season, I felt like there was a nice improvement in Luka's defensive game. Dallas' defense was really good for the most part, especially in the Clipper and Thunder series. And then in the Minnesota series, it was also good as well. I really think health is playing a bigger role in this. And Boston, to their credit, has taken full advantage, and they have found Luka whenever they've had the ball, and they've gone after him, and they've really rode that into a 3-0 lead here more so than anything.
I agree, and it definitely could be the injuries here for him, but I do think he does lack in the defensive area, and you have to play both
sides.
Still needs
to improve. Yeah.
Both sides of the ball. And Chris Andrews was in here talking with us as well, and he's still young, and he is definitely going to learn from this postseason. But I want to ask you this, because I'm kind of in the ballpark of that is poking the bear a little bit here. I think we'll see a great improvement from him in game 4, really trying to avoid the sweep. So I'm leaning towards the Mavs already in game 4. I'm said it before game 3, gentleman sweep. I was looking at that price, Boston in 5, and I'm going to stay there with that. I think they get this 4th game.
I would lean to Boston to just finish this thing out. I think there will be give up factor from Dallas. Now, what could avoid that is, let's say Dallas gets out to like a 15-point lead in the first half, then totally different handicap. But if Boston gets out quickly in game 4, this thing's done. I don't see any comeback, any fight from Dallas if they get in a double-digit hole quickly. If it's the other, if they get up double digits, all right, yeah, sure. And very easily. Again, they're 1-point favorites in this game right now as well. The market has Dallas winning this game at the moment. But I would have looked at that. And then the total, again, we talked about it. The lowest total we've seen in this series, but these games have been dead unders. All of them.
Yes.
All of them have been dead unders so far. And I'm not going to touch it at 211.5, but you're running out of any legitimate arguments for betting the overs here in this game 4. Even in an elimination game, you may have some extra fouls potentially, but there's no real good argument for trying to go over this lowest number of the series so far, Alex.
Yeah, I'm not going to touch the total either because you're right. I mean, the pace, how they played it, they have definitely been dead unders. 2-1 though on that first quarter going over 55. We saw it again last night. I think they have a lot of wiggle room here, Jeff. I mean, Kyrie Irving was definitely on his A game, and there was times when Luka kind of kept the ball and tried to do too much by himself. I think they're going to go back and watch film and figure out a way to get Kyrie and keep him going throughout that game. So, I mean, he still has really good role players, and I'm not in the ballpark that they're going to give up that easily.
Well, I think we'll find out quickly. I think this is one of those where if you're convinced on one side or another, you could go first quarter in game 4. You really could. Basically, it's pick, basically, for that first quarter, minus a half, depending on where you're looking.
I did hear somebody make a fantastic point, and that was being careful with that first quarter because there is a time where they are going to substitute and Luka comes out to rest for a little bit there. And that's what happened last night, and they didn't cover the first quarter. So if you want to play a different market, first to 10 or first to 20 might be a better way to play that here with the Mavs going into game 4.
Let's, you want to go to hockey? Game 3 tonight, north of the border?
Of course, I am always ready to go to hockey.
So looks like Barkov's going to play. That ended up being a whole lot of nothing. No suspension, no fine even for Draisaitl on that elbow. Florida yesterday, I'm very perplexed by this plan. You knew the weather was going to be terrible in South Florida yesterday. And basically South Florida's horrible flooding going on down there with just excessive rain. Why didn't you just leave the day before? Instead, it takes Florida an extra 7-8 hours to get up there because of weather. Now, I don't think it will make that much of a difference, but it just seems sort of silly more so than anything. Edmonton's a minus 130 favorite here in game 3 tonight. That's same price. Chris and company went to a dime line, by the way, behind us. Plus 120 now on Florida. And then Edmonton for the series, is plus 350. You can do a little bit better on Edmonton at other books. The minus 450 on the takeback on the laying of Florida is the best price you can find on the Panthers right now. But Alex, we talked about this total being 5.5, and it's just going to probably be 5.5 juiced and probably just go up. It can be 5.5 minus 115 here, 5.5 minus 120 under in game 4. Probably just progressively go up 5 cents or just stay put the rest of the series. That would be the way I'd look. I'd look at an under here with the way this series has played out. The only hesitation, though, Edmonton back under home ice. Maybe their speed shows up. Maybe we get a 4-2, 5-1, something like that with Edmonton with a spirited effort. We could get a higher scoring game, but I still would lean to the under, and I would lean to the home favorite tonight to win this game 3.
I already played the over 5.5 because I do think this is the best opportunity to take a shot of a higher scoring game. We had my dad on, and he was talking about Edmonton and their fast ice there. So I do think that plays into this. You're right. We need to see the Oilers lean on their speed and their game going back home. I mean, listening to a lot of their pregame interviews, they're all just talking about win this one game, get back to our game. So I like the over, and I do like Edmonton as well. I don't love that price, though. So played the over 5.5 here, and then I'm going to tie up the over in the Oilers for a little parlay as well.
As we've talked about in this series, Conn Smythe-wise, Bobrovsky's your odds-on favorite now. By the way, Jaylen Brown probably wrapped up the NBA Finals MVP last night. Forgot to mention that, but that's probably, barring something surprising in Game 4, Brown's going to win that award at this point. But for Conn Smythe here on the NHL side, Bob is $2 now, minus 200. The shortest Oiler is McDavid at 5-1. The only other player that's shorter than 10-1 is Barkov at 5-1. So this really does kind of boil down at this point to, do you think Edmonton can come back and win this series and then McDavid would win? Or do you think Florida is going to hold this thing and Bob's probably going to win the Conn Smythe? You're getting better prices on both of those guys right now than what their team would be respectively to win the series.
What is
McDavid's 5-1.
Okay.
Bobrovsky's minus 200. Panthers best price minus 450. Best price on Edmonton out there is about plus 390. So that would be one way I would consider playing it. I don't see really a path for Edmonton, an Edmonton player other than McDavid to win it, barring just some monster performance by Hyman or Draisaitl, but I still think that would be McDavid. And Bobrovsky, unless if there's a total implosion these last 5 games and they win in spite of him, he's winning the Conn Smythe if Florida does raise the cup.
If you like Florida, yeah, that's a great bet right there, minus $2 on Bobrovsky. He has been outstanding not only in this series, but in this playoffs. So good bet right there.
That would be the way I'd look to play that if you're looking at a series price. Again, a little bit different out here, but newer jurisdictions, all sorts of opportunities on that. The health of Barkov is, again, a little bit of a concern here for tonight, but again, he practiced yesterday. Looks to seem okay at this point, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, it does kind of concern me getting hit like that and then having very little time to recover and that long travel. That could play a toll on him as well, but I don't know. It's all about the Oilers. It's all about what adjustments they make. It's about how they come out in this game 3 and how determined they are. I do think they have it in them, and they've been through a lot throughout this season, and so they can utilize that.
Want to go to W? Let's go to the W here. Alex White, 3 games tonight. You mentioned one that has not just regular season meaning, even though it's technically a cup game tonight with Atlanta, who, again, Atlanta's struggling right now. Really, Jordan Canada injury really playing a big role there with the Dream. They go to Indianapolis. Caitlin Clark and company, actually a few days off, shockingly enough, for the Fever. Dream 2.5, 165. This total has been hit to the over, which is not much of a shock with the Fever playing in this game here.
No, it's not. And I did jump on the over last night at 162. I don't know if I love it still here at 165. Maybe a chance for in-game, but that's going to be tough because the Fever really like to run, and that's been their best chance of winning these games. Fever are 8-2 to the over in their last 10 games. Nothing for me on the side. You're right. Even without Jordan Canada, though, the Dream should be playing a lot more competitive games. They have the pieces there. They've definitely been a disappointment. I think you said it, but they have a high ceiling, but then a very, very low floor. And we've seen both of them from this Atlanta team.
You know, it's we talk about, at least with this league, again, it's 12 teams. It's only 12 teams. So a big chunk, 8 out of the 12, make it to the postseason. So you're dealing with 2/3 of the league getting in. Now, for the Dream, even with their issues lately, they're still in perfectly fine shape. 500. They're actually ahead of the Aces on tie breaks right now. They mean 6. For the Fever, look, I think we pretty much know the 7 teams. We know the top 7 in some fashion is going to be what currently the top 7 is going to be in the playoffs. Because there's a pretty nice significant gap, even though Chicago has that really nice win over New York earlier in the year. There's still a gap from the top 7 to the bottom 5 at this point, Alex. And for Indiana, again, the 3-7. They've played 2 extra games in the sky, and they're 3 on the loss column with a tiebreak right now. Like, you can make a case for them, for LA, for Dallas, who's really struggled so far early in the season, for Chicago to at least find a way to get into this postseason. That will be an interesting race, realistically speaking, to get the 8 seed and then probably get swept by the Liberty, in all honesty.
There's got to be a market out there, right, to bet on if a team makes the playoffs or not?
Well, Alex, let's check our handy-dandy thing right now. I am not seeing one on DK, which is interesting.
You bring up a good point. As of right now, though, I have a bigger gap between 6 and then the rest of them. So
who of the 7 that are is Phoenix still?
No, I actually have Dallas still a little bit under Phoenix and closer with Atlanta and the other 4. So I know Dallas is a little tricky and might need to be a little bit higher, but Phoenix has been impressive. And you said it. We definitely undervalued them. Now they get Brittany Griner back, and they have a big test tonight second game against the Aces. They beat them the first time. So this will definitely be telling for the Mercury.
So real quick here, FanDuel does have numbers. Chicago Skies plus 144 to make the playoffs, minus 188 on the no. I don't know what that straddle is, but there you go. Wings are minus 220 on the yes, plus 168 on the no. Indiana's plus 285 on the yes, 4-1 on the no, so minus 400, playing 1-4, I should say, on the no. Sparks plus 520 on the yes, minus 900 on the no. So those are realistically the teams that are battling it out for number 8. Phoenix is all the way up to minus 590 to make the postseason right now, and the Dream are minus 400. No other odds are up because no one expects the Mystics to make a run to get in there, who, again, finally got that first win of the season in their last time out. And then the other teams, Connecticut, New York, Minnesota, Seattle, and the Aces, seemingly, even with the Aces struggles, those 5, no odds up right now off the board. They're getting in. We know that.
Did you say what Dallas's odds were?
Minus 220.
Yes.
On
the yes. Okay. Because they are only 3-7.
Yeah, they're in 10th right now.
Yeah.
They're in 10th right now. The other 2 games tonight, speaking of Dallas, 6.5-point dogs at home against Seattle. Seattle needs to win and get some help and also win by a lot tonight in order to give themselves a realistic opportunity to get to the Commissioner Cup final. Of course, they lost to Minnesota, looming largely right now for the Storm. 161 the total there and just outside of Dallas here for this one, Alex.
And the biggest thing is the Lynx have just beaten teams by so many points. So there is about a 38-point differential there. So Seattle, like you said, needs to win big. I do like them tonight in Dallas to get it done. I think they can cover that 6.5 as well. They also know that how important this is, that they need to try and catch up to Minnesota. If it's possible, I don't think so. So that's one tough thing that you do have to consider with your handicap. But so if Seattle loses and Phoenix wins, then Minnesota actually has some trouble. But as of right now, the Lynx are looking like they are going to represent the West.
Well, bringing up the other game again, Phoenix technically may not have anything to play for in that late game, but the Mercury are 5.5-point dogs right now. That's actually, there is a 6 still out there if you want to take that 6 with Phoenix. Talked about the Aces struggling with depth. Still no Chelsea Gray just yet. I think we'll see Chelsea Gray on Saturday. Just first appearance coming against the team you played in the final, and in the Liberty coming here to Vegas. 170 on the total. It feels like the spot if Vegas is going to bounce back. Phoenix has already beaten them once this year without Griner. Griner's back now. It feels like the spot where the Aces are going to get right. This is a good one to get right down there in Phoenix. A short little trip as well. Lay to 5.5 with the Aces tonight. I don't think that's a bad one.
I wish this total didn't move up already so much because I think it's a great overplay as well. Maybe you can find a better number on quarter or half. But Phoenix likes to run, and Aces, their biggest problem has been their defense. They're still a great offensive team, ranked second right now in offensive efficiency. But yeah, their defense has definitely been struggling, and it's hard to just make that switch immediately. So I would look for more points in this game, whichever way you want to play it. If you find a quarter, a half, or a team total.
Aces 5.5 tonight against Phoenix, again 170. That totals have been a big total, just market movers to overs here in the league here tonight. We already talked about that one and this one as well, as you said. 4 points in both of those games. Just too much at this point.
It is a lot. And especially we saw so many unders when the Commissioner Cup games started. They were very meaningful games, grinders, and now we are seeing more points, and that has definitely been a trend that has flipped, but there is a point where it gets a little too high.
Today's a short one for us because Gone Racing comes your way at the top of the hour. Jeff Motley, Brendan Gone, get you rolling for this week in NASCAR. This week in NASCAR, they're at Iowa this week. The Iowa Speedway for the Iowa Corn 350 powered by ethanol. Oh, I love that so much. That's such a good sponsor. That's such a good sponsor for that. Is Iowa a usual stop for them? No. This is a fresh one, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, this is again. They were in St. Louis a few weeks ago as well. Some new stops on the NASCAR front. There. But yes, that's awesome for that. All right. Brendan Gahn and Jeff Motley coming at the top of the hour for that. Alex, baseball real quick. Oh, you have one more WNBA thing? Or
no, I was going to ask how your audio went yesterday. Do you have any soccer for us?
Great point. I have no plays for tomorrow. That's also because the game is late. Euro 2024 starts on tomorrow in Germany with the Germans hosting Scotland. Myself, Tom Viola, available on the Sports by the Book podcast page, wherever you get your podcasts. Right now, we went through it, made some picks. We both had the same champion, which is always alarming, even though it was one of the two favorites. But we have that out, about 30 minutes of footy talk there for the Euro 2024. Thank you for bringing that up, Alex, with Tom Viola and myself. Tom Viola, of course, of Unabated, now Rivers Peabody, Captain Jack, great organization over there, doing great things in the sports betting space. All right, the baseball real quick. We got notes from Chris Andrews here this morning.
Yes, a lot of movement.
A lot of money. White Sox and Mariners, the biggest one on the board, I would say. Crochet and Castillo, awesome pitching matchup. Mariners open minus 170. They're down to minus 132. I love Garrett Crochet. I know Castillo's not had his best year, but Alex, aren't you kind of obliged to take the Mariners now 38 cents better at an open?
The far better team overall. Yes, I think so.
Yeah, I think that's one of those just like, all right, if I get beat, I get beat. By the way, that's a 6.5 juiced under, by the way, tonight on that one. Which, with those starting pitchers, not much of a shock as well. The Pirates, by the way, in action against the Cardinals. Two-way action there. Pirates up to minus 109 with Mitch Keller. The Rays against the Cubs, Justin Steele, Taj Bradley. Rays have been bet. They were even money. Now they're the favorites in this game down there at the Trop, minus 109. The Red Sox and the Phillies, this is a pure bet on Tanner Houck here. The Sox are now favored in this game all over the map, and that Phillies going for a sweep. Phillies will look dominant in that series, now playing up there in Boston with taking the first two of that series so far.
Phillies did lose.
Did Boston come back and win that game last night?
Yes.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, they did.
That's right, because now I know exactly what I did there. Boston, with that ridiculous first five comeback last night, where the Phillies were up 6-1. They're up 6-1 in that series, in that game. And Boston with that big bottom of the fifth inning gets it done. 8-6, of course, last night. Sorry, misspeaking on that one. Looked pretty good through the first three.
It did.
For the Bills last night. By the way, Tanner Houck, Danny Burke gave out Tanner Houck north of 50-1. Yeah, you can't get that number anymore. Tanner Houck approaching single digits now in that Cy Young race. So a quality job by our guy, DB. And then Alex, we'll just throw this out there. Patrick Corbin scheduled to pitch. Total 9.5 between the Tigers and the Nats. That total has been bet up from 9 from the overnight.
The only bet I did make so far is over 5.5 in the Yankees and the Royals.
First five?
Over first five, yes. Yankees are just playing so good. Last 7 games, they are 5-2 to the over. Team run 6.1. Team batting average 254. But they've also been allowing runs too, 4.3 average in those 7 games. So that's my only bet so far.
You know, the Yankees, just real quick here, go to Kansas City after it was not a great weekend for them against the Dodgers. Their offense looked a little bit flummoxed. Soto obviously didn't play.
Yep.
If it wasn't for Trent Grisham, of all people, it looked like it would have been a 3-game sweep for L.A. But the Yankees have gone to Kansas City. They have outscored the Royals in this series 25-8. They've dominated this series so far. Now they get a pitcher in Marsh who is young, has been all over the place. Cortez hasn't been particularly great either. But I again, to 10.5. You don't see numbers that high very often in baseball outside of high elevation.
Yeah.
Colorado, of course. Or London. Yes, I know not high elevation, but regardless. 10.5. And that is a big number, 5.5 first 5. But you are not concerned because of the pitchers that are in there and the hot bats of the Yankees.
Exactly. I think that will be okay. You have any baseball today?
I do not.
Okay.
I do not. The only thing I I mean, the Mariners are minus 132 against the White Sox. I know it's an even pitching matchup, maybe even tilted towards Crochet, but come on. You got to do it in that spot. All right, that's all we have for today. But before we go here today, of course, telling you the rest of the schedule for today, as we have Gone Racing coming at the at the top of the hour, and we also have punchlines as well. I will be there. There's Ryan McCormick, who I don't think realized it was almost time for.
Well, yeah, no, I thought I forgot it was a 30-minute show today.
Yeah, I don't think you realized. We have a fun show planned for the folks coming up in noon.
Yeah, we do. We are each doing our personal rankings of City Connect jerseys. We are looking at more posts with punchlines, looking at some stuff from the U.S. Open, looking at some stuff from football, baseball, all that kind of stuff. So tune in at noon after Gone Racing, which comes up in 30 minutes.
We'll be on the lookout for that.
I will say make sure that you go on the Punchlines YouTube channel if you want to be in the chat, because I have heard people being on the wrong one. So it's a very active chat there.
Keith Lyle's not on both anymore?
He has not been chiming in on both. He's been the king of comments on the new one.
Okay, so go to the new page there on YouTube. All right. That's all the time we have, Alex. We're back tomorrow. Dwayne Colucci with us tomorrow. Oh, look at that. Everyone's awake back there this morning. That's good. Caden Sean, good work as always. Alex, we might have some U.S. Open in-game plays tomorrow. We may. I'm not saying we will, but we may.
We may. I hope so.
I hope so, too. See you tomorrow, 9 a.m. Sports by the Book, South Point Studio.